What a pleasure to once again this morning be joined by a man who is Michigan's favorite author. Well, our most favorite since Ernest Hemingway moved away from Walloon Lake, Elmore Dutch Leonard. Thanks for being available so early this morning. Great to hear your voice again.
Well, thank you, Michael.
Appreciate
Pleasure to be here.
The story we know by now, but it bears repeating. In 1950, you went to work for a Detroit advertising agency, but you wrote those Western stories on the side. And now here we are, 44 novels later, movies, television shows. At the age of 85, you've got another page-turner called Djibouti. I know that you've been asked these questions many times, but when you were doing that work in the ad agency, how did you manage a career like that and writing at the same time?
Well, I would get up at 5 o'clock. It took several months for me to actually do it, but I would get up at 5 and work for 2 hours before I'd get ready to go to work. And at that time, just starting out, I could do a page by hand, a page an hour, which I can't do now.
Why not?
It takes all day to do 3 pages.
Wow, the craftsmanship in 3 pages all day like that. And now you're at your leisure. I think the last time we talked, you told me that you work right in your living room with all sorts of distractions and people coming and going and the mailman knocking on the door. And how do you do that?
Well, I don't mind the distractions. Sometimes it's good if you're kind of stuck on what to say next and you're distracted, then you get back to it and there it is, you know what to do.
Did you ever?
It seems to work that way. I've been doing it long enough, at least, that I can always write something. But it's how to rewrite and make it better.
You never get writer's block.
No, I don't believe in writer's block.
You
people tell me they have. I don't understand what that means. They're probably just trying to write the wrong thing. They just should take another look at it and come at it from a different angle.
I know that you're a big fan of Ernest Hemingway, and if you read his book, Ernest Hemingway on Writing, I think it's called, he talks about the fact that he would always leave something, he would leave before he was done writing for the day, so that the next day he could pick up where he left off very easily. You don't need to do that.
That's a good idea, but it's hard to do. I try to do that. I try to quit writing by 6 o'clock in the evening. And if I'm in the middle of a scene at that time, I'll still try to finish it because it's just too tempting to get that finished and then start anew the next day. Yeah. But it's a good idea, very good idea.
Did you ever meet Ernest Hemingway?
No, never did.
You wish you had?
Yeah, sure. I don't know what I'd say to him, of course. But he was my hero for a long time.
Yeah, well, you're the hero for a lot of people now, and many of your books center around Miami or Detroit, and so we get a kick out of that. Are you a boat guy?
No, not at all.
And you don't like to be on the water. You're a landlubber, and here in Djibouti, there's plenty of water in play in this book, isn't there?
Yeah, off the coast of East Africa. Of course, I was in the Navy during the war, so I was on a ship for quite a while.
Well, that explains it. Where did you serve?
I served in the South Pacific on an island, Los Negros, in the Admiralty Islands, and then we went to the Philippines for about 6 months. And then the war ended, and we came home.
Did you did you ever see heavy seas out there that put you off?
Yeah, sure. In the South China Sea, it was very heavy. I didn't get a ship, however, until I got home. And then the war ended, and then I was sent back out to the West Coast to Seattle, and I was put on a ship, and we sailed down around through the Panama Canal to Virginia and decommissioned the ship. And that was it. But I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Tell us about Djibouti, if you would. I always like to hear the way, I can read the jacket flap just as easy as anyone, but what does the story mean to you? What happens in Djibouti?
Well, Dara Barr is making a documentary. She wants to make a documentary film about the pirates, because the pirates, as she started reading about them last year, they were very successful, and they still are. They're making a lot of money. at that time, when she got interested in them, they'd made about $30 million by ransoming ships going through that part of the world and then up the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. And they were stopping ships, and they would get a little high on khat, K-H-A-T, and take the ship, and then put a few people aboard, and wait for the ransom. And they were doing pretty well. So Dara meets right away. She meets a couple of successful pirates, and they like her, and they give her a ride in their Mercedes and things like that, and then take her to their camp. And so she likes it, but then, of course, she becomes involved with Al-Qaeda. And Al-Qaeda is not fun. They're very serious. And there was a character, an American Al-Qaeda Muslim that I made up, and he becomes an Al-Qaeda terrorist once he goes over to Africa and meets them, and he's really a bad guy. So I make it up as I go along. I'm never sure what's going to happen. And that's the way I like to do it now. I used to, like 40 years ago, I would outline the book, but I don't like to do that now. I like to surprise myself. It's a lot more fun. Never know what's going to happen next.
Have any of your books broken your heart in that fashion?
No. I've always been able to finish them. and I like them all.
And this one clearly going to be destined for the silver screen, I would think.
Well, I hope so. I haven't gotten any offers yet, but I think I don't know how it can't be. I think it's a good story.
Do you still have to write book proposals? In other words, when your publisher says, okay, time for a new book, and you say, okay, I got an idea, do you have to do a proposal, or
No.
They'll take whatever you send, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, because a lot of people, I'm sure, when you give your speeches, say, how do you get started as an author? And it's an uphill climb to get that first one done, isn't it?
Well, I told my editor a year ago. I said, well, I've got my next book. It's going to be called Djibouti. And he said, Djibouti? No. He says, no, you can't use Djibouti. It won't sell. He says, maybe if you use another word with Djibouti, it might work okay. And I said to him, it's Djibouti.
Yeah, that's all. Learn how to spell it. Because
Right.
you know what? I'm holding this book up on television right now and on the radio, and it says Elmore Leonard on the top. That's really all you need. You could put Elmore Leonard 44, and people would buy it because you're so popular.
Well, I hope so. I know I've got fans. I don't know how many, but I've got good fans because I hear from, I get letters a lot and books to be signed, and so it's fun. It's been fun for 40 years or 40, more than that.
What do you like to do in Detroit for fun? I know you told me last time that you live there all year round. You could live anywhere you want. You could live in Miami, whatever, but you decide this is your home and this is where you stay. What do you do in Michigan, in Detroit, to amuse yourself?
Well, I used to play a lot of tennis. We've got a tennis court in the backyard, but I don't know. At 85, I can't seem to hit the sweet spot on the racket. It just gets harder.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to sit down and rest and watch. I like to watch television. I've got a good show on now with Justified, and I'm writing a book which features Raylan Givens, who's the star of the story, and if they can use whatever they want out of this book, which will just be called Raylan, I think, and I'll have a book, and they can pick at it. So that's the next book, and I'm about 100 pages away from having it finished.
Wow, you're not writing those television episodes every time.
No,
So,
but they have taken episodes from a couple of my books, as well as the pilot, which was Fire in the Hole, about about coal mining.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been researching coal mining and then writing more scenes down in Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, the coal fields.
Yeah, you know, that gripping story, speaking of coal mines, that took place down there in Chile, I can't wait to hear the inside story of what that was like. Some of these things are unimaginable, but and that is proof that truth is stranger than fiction.
I'll say it is, yeah. Hey, where are you?
I am sitting right now in a storefront studio next to the Capitol, and we're heard on 12 radio stations across the state of Michigan and one TV station. And you and I met a million years ago when I was the producer for J.P. McCarthy. And
oh, really?
You were nice enough to do a little endorsement for my book about J.P. Right there on the back cover, because I know you guys were close and he talked to you frequently. And the most embarrassing story was I walked into 220 Merrill Street there one time.
Yeah.
And the waitress led me and my little party to the table in the back, and she says, "Oh, great, we've got the two authors in the same section." And you were at the next table, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute. He's done 38 books. I've done one. Let's not say the two authors, okay?" And you were a good sport about it, and I sent a drink over, and I'll never forget that. That was a lot of fun.
JP was always a good interviewer.
Yeah.
Always enjoyed that because I don't think he ever read the book, but he knew how to talk.
Yeah, he sure did. He was curious, and we're happy you live still in Michigan, and we're happy that Djibouti is coming out, and then the next book on Raylan, and we'll keep in touch. And you have a very happy holiday season. And have you already written this morning?
No. It's only 7:30. So
okay.
No, but I'll get to it.
All right, we'll let you get to it then. The 5 a.m. days before the advertising agency are long gone. He writes at his own leisure right now.
Yeah.
Elmore Leonard, thank you very much for the honor indeed.